After thanking Gemma and Antonio for the ride, we want to dig deeper on how folks here get around. I definitely need to know in case I found the love of my life here and needed to safely make it to my date, especially during the Yukon's brutal winter. For now, we don't need to venture too far, since Yukon's Transportation Museum is only 3 minutes walk from the Erik Nielsen Whitehorse International Airport. You won't able to miss it as there is a gigantic Canadian Pacific Airlines DC-3 on the pedestal right outside the entrance. Founded in 1990 and located on the land of Ta'an Kwach'an Council, the museum brings the transportation in Canada's rugged Yukon Territory to life. With a variety of indoor and outdoor exhibitions, the museum shares a glimpse and glimmer of Yukon's character through the stories of people moving themselves, their possessions, and the ideas around this vast landscape. Its mandate include identify, acquire, preserve, and conserve the history, cultural materials, and artifacts of Yukon's transportation mode, and to interpret this history in an educational manner for all Yukoners and visitors alike. With that being said, let's get started with my favorite form of transportation. And yes, there's a room dedicated to that. I'm also going to brag, I'm also a private pilot. Now, as you can see, Yukon's weather is extremely harsh. Not every single type of aircraft are fit to fly in this kind of environment. So these are some of the aircraft are used traditionally in the past. That's some of them are even flying to today. Most of the collection are kept inside the main exhibition hall, shadowed by a full-size wooden replica of the Queen of the Yukon. This was a single-engine monoplane to the Spirit of St. Louis. The Queen of the Yukon was the first commercial airplane in the territory, made many historic flights. It was the first to deliver mail by air to Dawson City, a task performed by dropping the mail from the sky as it was determined that river ice was not significantly thick enough to land on. One of the old carriages of a train, I'm pretty sure it's restored, and there's actually a step encouraging you to hop right on. So let's go and have a look. One of the stars of the museum is a full-size replica model Lake Annie passenger car set on top of the flat car donated by the White Pass and Yukon Route Company, a historic railway company that was founded in 1896 to meet the transportation needs of the Klondike Gold Rush as a means of reaching the gold field. The company operated the primary route for travel into the interior of the Yukon until 1982, when the price of metal plunged and the striking devastating effect on the mines that were White Pass and Yukon Route's main customer. Another interesting exhibition is the miniature railway. In 1997, the model train exhibit began with a grant from the Yukon Lotteries, which built the Carcross portion of the White Pass and a smaller exhibit of Copper Belt Railway that ran from McRae to Pablo Mine at Fish Lake Road. The exhibit plan was eventually to build a model White Pass that ran from Skagway through the summit to the Bennett to a Carcross and Whitehorse. Another section is dedicated to the water transportation in Yukon, in particular the steam whaler SS Klondike. Due to the construction of a highway connecting from Dawson City and the Whitehorse, many of the Yukon River steam whaler were decommissioned, and the SS Klondike was no exception to this fate. In an attempt to save the SS Klondike II, she was converted into a cruise ship by the White Pass and Yukon Route. The Duke of Edinburgh was invited to tour the ship in 1954, being taken on a short trip down the Yukon River and back to Whitehorse during the day-long visit to the city. However, the adventure shut down in 1955 due to lack of interest. The museum covers all facets of transportation in the Yukon, including Yukon's First Nations watercraft, dog sled, and the Yukon Quest, and the human-propelled transportation like snowshoe and cross-country skis.
coming in the winter, make sure you bring your snow boots as it gets quite deep. And you always need to make sure you protect your eyes as it's really bright, especially when the sun bounces off the snow.
The museum also have an extensive outdoor open-air collection of transportation equipment, including several pieces from the White Pass and Yukon route, including a straddle carrier and an ore cart, as well as a large variety of motor and mining vehicles, and even a Yukon river boat built in 1920s.